Hey everyone, Chemistry here. This is part 8 of my FL Studio tutorial series. In this tutorial I'll be going through Trance Builds. What I have in front of me here is actually a song of mine called Serenity, and it's not uploaded yet. But by the time you see this video, it probably is, so I'll leave a link somewhere around here. I'll also be going into sweeps. I forgot to mention, because sweeps are very important within builds. So I'll just kind of show you quickly how to make one and how to filter them so it actually sounds like a sweep. So anyway, I'll just give you a walkthrough step by step what I did in this song to kind of create that generic uplifting build, that tension, and just how to deliver the climax, you know what I mean? So before that, I'm going to show you the sweeps, and if you already know how to make one or you just doesn't concern you, then you guys can just skip to the next part where I just show you the actual builds. So go into channels, add 1, and then 3x OSC, it'll be right here. And then it will kind of show you this purple channel on the step sequencer. Open that and then click in on these zigzags on every oscillator, so just these little zigzags. It kind of gives you just a noise. Without filters, it just gives you a noise, static noise. And what you want to do is actually link that to the mixer. So right click on any track, link selected channels to this track, and you can rename it sweep like I did if you want. Now go into the effect slots here and then open up 2 Fruity free filters. I hate saying that, but 2 free filters. You can rename them low pass and high pass by just right clicking on them. You're not actually renaming the actual effect, you're just renaming it for this project. There's a time where I thought I'd be renaming the actual effect from Fruity free filter to low pass, which I thought it was silly. That's not what I'm doing here, that's just to label them. So the top one is high pass, or no, I'm sorry, the top one is low pass and the bottom one is high pass, which is kind of ironic. I'll just switch those over. Okay, so what you want to do for the high pass, which is right here, is to change the type and bring it to high pass, obviously. So now they're high pass filters. What you also want to do on both Fruity free filters is to bring down the Q down to 1. Just one little bar, so that the resonant effect will be kind of low. If you do like that effect, actually, just don't do that. It's just kind of like a whistle. I think it sounds better without, especially with the sweep. Now with the frequencies here, it's just kind of like volume, at least for low pass. So down here on low pass, as you can see, it works a lot like volume, like I said. At 10 hertz, you just won't hear the sound as if it was muted. As you go more towards the right, the sound will gain and become more loud until 16,000 hertz, where it'll actually be 100% volume. High pass is actually the exact opposite. When it's at 16,000 hertz, it actually mutes. You actually can't hear anymore, because it's just not letting anything lower than 16,000 hertz to be heard. So anything lower than 16,000 hertz is not heard. That basically means everything is muted, at least for the human ear. As you go more towards the left, you'll actually begin to hear it more and more until it reaches 10 hertz, where the effect will be muted, and you'll be able to hear the static noise at 100%. So when the frequencies are like so, you'll hear that perfect noise at 100%. Anyway, what you want to do is actually right click on those frequencies and then create automation clips. So create automation clip there and another one here. And you'll have these 2 envelopes come in on your playlist. And they'll look like this, but without all the mountains. It'll just kind of be like these 2 lines. Those will be actually the envelopes where you'll automate the frequency knob. You want to take the pattern where well, actually you should make a pattern. Make a pattern where the static noise is actually just being laid out into these 4 measures like that. So what you want to do is kind of just take those patterns there and just lay them out during the entire song, because the sweeps will be, just so you kind of make the sweeps available anywhere during the song, even if they're not actually heard halfway through it. So during the beginning, it's just kind of a sweep down, kind of like an exhale. And how you do that is you just take the low pass and bring it up to 100%. And then the high pass, bring it to around 70-ish%. So it just kind of sounds like it's in the clouds and it's just kind of falling out of the sky and then down onto the ground. You can also use panning with that, and even sidechain compression works with that too. But that's another tutorial. So yeah, just make a point A and then point B dot here. And to create those dots, just kind of right click and just get these different dots here. But yeah, and then use this dot here to bend it down so it's more of a steep or a quick sweep down. Anyway, I'll let you guys play that so you can just kind of experiment. But that's just a generic down sweep, and then as you can see, it kind of gets higher here as the build goes on. It just kind of, you know, gets louder and basically just does the opposite of this, but just in a much slower or longer event. So the low pass goes back up to 100% and the high pass goes to around 85%. So it's just kind of like a inhale all the way, and then as the climax begins, you just make the same thing as the intro, but just a little bit slower, and just kind of a slow exhale. And that's kind of what you're doing. Now remember, I am having help with these effects here. I have reverse crashes, sweeps, sweep up, sweep downs. I have this really long ass down sweep here from VC2 FX 94. I think it's an awesome sweep, and it just gives you that extra oomph. So definitely use that. Crashes are very important during the build, especially for dance. If you want to repeat those crashes over and over until the climax begins, go for it. But yeah, so that just concludes how to make a sweep, and just generically, simply, and generally how to use them. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube that will show you a little more of what I did. Now time for the builds. Okay, so as I said, I just do a quick walkthrough here of what I did around this area. All this over here is actually just the end of the intro. So just kind of bear in mind this part around here is just like the break. So when the break begins, what you actually hear is the trance pads. I have 2 pads, low and high, and they're not very loud. They're actually relatively soft, but they're coming in. They come in until this area at the very, very end here. That's when they kind of reach their highest point. For all these 8, or I'm sorry, what is that? 8, 16 measures. Yes, for all these 16 measures here, the pads remain at its highest point until it drops around the end. So what you actually hear around this point is claps, hi-hats, just to kind of put down that tempo. You actually hear some guitar, dream guitars here. It sounds like this. Just kind of like these little stabs, you know, just to add that uniqueness, I guess. But most importantly, what you're actually hearing is the main line, and it's coming in. The main lead is slowly being introduced during this period there. I didn't mean to play that, but and I'll show you what it actually sounds like. This is the main pluck. It's actually called the Pimped Pluck, or Pimped Trimorph, yes, off the Trance Element 4 expansion pack, I think, off Nexus 2. So you guys can get that if you want. So yeah, this is the main melody line during the climax. I'll just play a little bit of it, and this is what's actually coming in during the build. Now it was relatively soft. That's because it's actually soft at that around that part of the song there. So, but anyway, that is the lead. What I also have here is the jump chord, which you've seen in the other tutorials, but it's not the same jump chord. It's actually just a modified jump chord for more of the trance genre, off Trance Elements 2, I think. So same from the expansion packs, same exact melody, but just different instrument, and it's actually a lot softer than the lead. So it just kind of accompanies the lead. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys probably can't even hear that. So I kind of worked with that, did a little bit of panning. One is at 25% to the right, the other one's 20%. And the jump chord is actually softer than the main lead, so just none of them actually overcome each other. Well, that's not necessarily true, but I guess you guys get the idea. So they're working together to create the main actual lead, kind of the saw pluck noise. And it's actually only being introduced during this area here. So what you're actually hearing here is just kind of the pads coming back down, dropping, and letting the main lead take over. So this is actually where the build begins, because what I did here in this song, and I mean not all songs do this, is it starts off on this area with pads only and dream guitars, not much bass. I don't like to put basses in my builds because I like to have my my basses left for the climax. I don't know, but I just kind of like having something for my climax, you know what I mean? Like, if I use all my instruments on the build and I use just everything I've got, then the climax will sound like crap because you won't have anything to actually deliver to your audience. It won't be satisfying at all. So you limit the amount of instruments you actually use. Don't use your kick unless it's a kick roll, and like don't use your bass unless it's actually soft. And leave that for the actual climax, because you want them to kind of anticipate something really big. So don't overdo your builds is basically what I'm saying. But anyway, this part here is all pads and dream guitars with a little bit of that lead. You can actually hear the lead quite well, but you can't hear the jump chord at all, even though you see it's there. The volume envelope is actually at 8%, so you really can't hear it. At this area around here, you actually hear it quite well. The trance arp, or the little pluck there, is actually at full volume, or almost full at least. But the jump chord isn't, and I did that because I wanted the jump chord to really be there around the climax, not during this little area. I just want the jump chord to kind of introduce itself, because the build wasn't over, you know what I mean? So the pads are still there, and I also have a little kick drum just kind of beating. I'll show you what that sounds like. That's basically it. Just becomes faster and faster, and it hits the half steps. The ostriches here, the velocities, comes up and goes back down. And yeah, I didn't want to really get into that too much, running on quite a bit of time here. So yeah, this part here is really just where the build truly begins. You have the kick roll, you also have the hats and claps coming in around the end. The sweep is coming in. You also have all these crashes here. You even have this reverse kick, or not reverse, reverb kick with a little bit of crash on that. Sweeps, like I said, they're coming in, and you just want to just bring in as much as possible. Try to create as much tension as possible around this point, but don't overdo it, like I said. Alright, well, something kind of happened around the end here. I don't know what was going on. I think I heard like a duplicate or something play over another lead. I don't know, but hope you kind of get the idea there, what was happening. It was just the lead alone with a little bit of pads. And it was just kind of coming in. So there was definitely less pads. There's actually no voice pads on that second part there. Here I have voice, lows, and highs. Alright, well, as you can see, my computer almost froze there because of the CPU issue, but hope you guys just kind of get the idea. But yeah, so what happens around this area, you've probably been wondering, is what I was trying to create some sort of repetition. Some people use this kind of differently than I did. Most people just use an entire pattern. I just kind of like taking the slicer here and just cutting it all up. And a lot of people do things like, I'll show you right now. It's like this. They take the ending, or I'm sorry, this is not the entire pattern, is it? No, it's not. Okay, that's the entire pattern. And they'll just take either the ending or the beginning. They cut it, and they basically just do this. Take it twice, and then they split it in half like this, and split in half like this, and then they split into quarters, and then they probably just either start it, or maybe they would just take the ending here, put that, take the ending of the melody, and just here, I did it a little too big there, whoops. And just, you're basically repeating it until it becomes monotone, and then you begin the climax. And then the climax will start. You know what I mean? They do something like that, and it's actually extremely simple, guys. It's so easy to do, and I did something extremely similar to that. I just took the very ending, and I just basically put it on the ending. So I just basically repeated a different ending at the ending to begin the climax. If that makes any sense at all. So yeah, so I just took the ending and I just put it at the ending. Does it make sense? It's a different ending though. Remember that. Anyway, then the climax starts and everything is good. The kick is kicking and all the hi-hats, the claps are actually in there. There's also around here, after those 16 measures are done over there, I like to add something, and what I added was this sun piano. Sounds like this. So it's kind of like nice, you know, just I just kind of put that on top of everything, and it has a lot to do with layering. Even in the build there was lots of layering, the effects, everything. I'm hoping that I kind of went through as much as I could. I mean, if you haven't listened to the song, I really hope you go look for it and take an actual listen. I did actually take off a lot of reverb and just all those special plugins to improve the sound on this because of the CPU issue that I'm having. So bear that in mind, that this wasn't top quality stuff here, but I will upload this to my YouTube. By the time you are watching this video, it should already be uploaded. If not, then it will be very soon. I'm pretty sure that's about it. I hope I've covered as much as possible for you guys. Remember to keep that kind of 8-bar, 16-bar structure. Look up something like how to structure a song properly, or uplifting trance song structure tutorial, something like that, because all songs actually follow a very specific structure, and certain things happen for a certain time for a certain reason. I'll probably make a tutorial like that sometime here soon, but for now, if you want to learn how, either send me a PM, personal message here on YouTube, or I don't know, anything, leave a comment and I'll be sure to answer that for you guys. But I guess it's goodbye for now, and thanks for watching.